And we are live. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Not only are we back, but so is NCAA football. We're back. Yes.
Oh,
The video game is finally coming back. Do you understand how pumped up I am right now?
I'm extremely pumped up. I thought I was juiced up, man. You're bringing a lot more energy. By the way, it's finally fitting to use that sound drop. It finally works in a good context for once and for something that is good. This game needs to come soon. I know that it's a whole year, but it needs to come soon.
Well, that's what she said. Second,
not even a minute in. Jesus. 30 seconds into the show. Yeah, go ahead.
Second off, let me tell you a story, okay?
Yeah.
Just how my life turned upside down. I'd like to take a minute to sit right there. I'll tell you how I beat Alabama 391-0. So,
oh my God.
January 2012. I'm in college.
Okay.
Mad at the world. Mad. LSU just lost national championship. Alabama. Go on immediately after the game. I was at the I go to my apartment after the game, and I strike up my Xbox. And I put it on JV. And I play an entire dynasty. Don't sleep. Okay? Purposely got Alabama and LSU undefeated. Or not undefeated, but back into the BCS national title game. Okay. I put it on junior varsity. I beat them. I played 15-minute quarters. I beat Alabama 391-0 to take out my frustration. Okay. That's how mad I was. Well, the game had a glitch in it. I wind up losing.
Wait, what?
You cannot beat a team more than 300 points. It's a glitch that if you beat somebody over 300 points, the team that scores that many points loses. It was a glitch.
So you spent all of that time, all of that frustration to play Alabama after they won the national championship, is what you're saying?
Yes, I was that mad. 391-0.
To then still beat them by 300 points, and Alabama still in this imaginary world finds a way to win a national championship is what you're telling me.
Basically.
That is so disheartening. No, but like the fact that
I played an online dynasty mode. You want to hear something even more crazy?
Yeah.
We played an online dynasty mode that year. You could not pick your favorite school. You had to pick somebody else. Guess what team I picked?
TCU.
No. Mississippi State.
Really?
There was a guy by the name of Dak Prescott.
Did you win a natty or no?
Not only did I win a natty, he won back-to-back Heismans. That's how much I spent time on this game. It was kind of embarrassing. I played it so much, but I'm so excited it's back.
Yes.
It's not what we're here to talk about. You know what we should do the day that it's released? Me and you should live stream me kicking your ass.
We absolutely should do that. I hope that there's cross console because I am not buying a PS5 to play against you.
I'm sure there will be. And I'm going to be LSU and you're going to be Notre Dame.
I can't be Alabama. That's not allowed.
Oh, well, you might have Tyler Buckner. Okay. You might have
Heisman Trophy winning Tyler Buckner.
No, not even remotely close. But yes, you can be Alabama if they have Tyler Buckner. Anyway, we do got a lot to get into, Joe. We're going to talk about our top 5 wide receivers. I pulled a Joe DeLeone today. I went FCS. But I'll tell you what.
FCS. Wait. He's not FCS.
Not FCS. Group of
G5
5
school.
Yeah, okay. G5. Why did I say FCS? My boy from Western Kentucky.
Malachi Corley, who you're going.
No, you don't have any comment on me.
I'm pretty surprised that you did go with that because as I was putting my list together, there are a lot of G5 kids who statistically were very good last year. And
not better than him.
Yeah, I opted not to put Corley in there at all. And I was thinking like if I were to have a top 10, he'd probably be at number 7 or number 8. But I'm curious to get into that. I'm curious to find out why you placed him in that location.
First round pick.
You think he's going to be a first round? Okay,
Yeah.
we need to save this for when we get to it, but I don't know if I go that far to say he's a first rounder.
Well, he might be the only wide receiver in G5 history to go back-to-back years with 100-plus catches.
It's certainly possible. Austin Reed's coming back. I know that their offensive coordinator's gone, but there's certainly a lot of possibility for him to produce that much.
Right, and he had, look, his worst year so far, you don't want to know what his worst year so far was? 75 catches and 1,000 yards. Now, I know that it's a different level of play. Look, I might be stretching it. I just really like the kid. I think, look, I don't think he's going to be a first-round pick. We'll talk about it. Not only that, we'll go through our top 5, and finally, The Rock has come. Oh, wait, no, that's not it. That's not it. But finally, we get to start talking about on-the-field football. I am so tired of talking about playoff expansion news. I want to vomit.
I know that you just love talking about random rumors and random headlines.
Read my lips.
I know that you love a lot of like all the police reports that we've been doing. All that stuff's really, really fun. No, I actually
don't mind that. I actually don't mind that.
That's surprising. I'm the opposite. I kind of like the expansion stuff. I will say this was probably some of the most fun I had putting together my notes because I put a lot of detail in making sure that you're not going to catch me slipping on any of this information because I know damn well that you're going to come out swinging on some of the stuff that I'm prepared to point out with some of these teams.
I got, and look, so just so the audience knows, we did not share who we have winning the SEC East and our top teams. Yeah. I'm going to tell you though, big dog, I'm going to tell you, I got a team up there pretty high that I don't think people are, or I think people are sleeping on. And no, it's not the Gamecocks.
I think I might know who you're going with because I think I might have picked that same
right
school.
Now.
Kentucky.
Oh, hell no. They suck.
Really?
No, they don't suck. I have them third. I'll tell you.
So then you did pick Kentucky. That was who you picked.
Yeah, but there's another team in there that I think that could technically be above them. There is a team. We'll talk about that. So we got a lot to get into. And I'm going to tell you this, Joe. I think we might need to do this Saturday, maybe give them 15 minutes or 20 minutes of our time. We need to talk about Florida State. If you missed the news today, Keon Coleman is going to Florida State. Buddy, I'm just going to let you know. Now, if you watch our guys, our friends, our colleagues over the charity stripe, I was on with them, and I said this. For LSU's sake, as an example, I'm more nervous about Florida State than I am. Jordan Travis and that team scares me more than Tyler Buckner and Tommy Rees.
Absolutely. And they have already a really good run game with Trey Benson and Jordan Travis. And we're going to talk about Johnny Wilson today, who I placed in my top 5 receivers. The fact that they've got a 6'7" guy and a 6'4" guy that they can throw the ball up to, it's going to be dangerous. Your corners better come to play that game.
I think, look, let's not put this on LSU. I think that every corner is going to have to come play against them. Like this isn't just an LSU thing. Okay. Like this is a college football thing. We'll talk about that here today. So a lot we need to get into, but before we do that, Joe, everybody listening, we do have one question.
I thought this was interesting.
Big J Cole. So on AYS, our comment section is called the Rudy Crew because if you smell, and I say Rudy Poo all the time. Our chat is called the Rudy Crew, and he says, "What are y'all, Blake and Joe? What are y'all going to call the Ruffino and Joe chat? Rudy Crew is taken. What do y'all think? What do they think?"
Question. It's a good question. I don't see here's my only thing. I don't think that we have enough consistent listeners yet to give a nickname. That's all we're getting there.
Yeah. Maybe. We'll see. All right. So everybody do us a favor by hitting the like and share. Do that right now. Stop what you're doing. Even if your Meemaw is calling, you tell Meemaw she's got to hold on because you got to hit the like button and the share button. If you're on Facebook, YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts, rate, review, and subscribe. Let's talk about our good friends over at BetOnline. We're talking about our top wide receivers in college football. We're going to break down the SEC East, and we'll get to Keon Coleman at the end. Till then, stay tuned. Do not Leave us. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way for you to wager on all of your favorite sports, contests, events with the first-to-market odds and lines. Find reviews for all the news for each league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, college sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all of your sports information for live in-game betting, props, and futures. Head on over to BetOnline today and use your mobile device to join and make your first sports bet. Use our promo code BELIEVE50, that's BELIEVE50, BLEAV 50, to receive your 50% off welcome bonus on your first deposit. That's betonline.ag, betonline.ag. Some of these receivers are going to be hearing about that. So in case you missed it, Joe and I are going to do our top 5 wide receivers here today. Look, I will admit there's only really one. Joe, so normally when we've done these lists, okay, me and you have had some pretty strong debate. Yeah. I don't really hate yours at all, to be honest. I don't hate Johnny Wilson on there. I don't hate where you place him. There's only one real reason why I don't have Johnny Wilson on there. And then Ibuka, okay? Emeka Ibuka, there's only one reason that I got him 3 and Malik Neighbors number 2. We'll talk about that. But I don't hate your list, man. Like, I think we both did pretty solid here.
One thing I also want to point out, I said this to you that we could have done 10 running backs last show.
We could not do 10 wide receivers.
We absolutely could not. It is a really thin grouping. And it makes sense when you look at it that the NFL is hungry for receiver talent. So if a guy is a little decent and had some quality production, he's going to make the jump to the NFL. So we really didn't have a lot of returning production. There is some projection here. And one of the guys who we're going to talk about, Johnny Wilson, he didn't even go over 1,000 yards. There weren't a lot of guys that went over 50,
Let's go ahead and put your list up then, Joe, and so you can read it off here.
So I went with number 1, Marvin Harrison Jr. from Ohio State. There is going to be no debate from anyone on this planet with placing him at number 1.
No
Romeo Odunze from Washington at number 2. Emeka Ibuka from Ohio State, Harrison's teammate, at number 3. Johnny Wilson from FSU at number 4. And then number 5, Malik Neighbors from LSU. Despite me trying to find a way not to place him on this list, I had to do it. I put him at number 5.
Wow. Look at you growing.
Well, look, as much as a hack I am, and as much as I am an LSU hater, as I've been proclaimed by your listenership, I can't deny talent.
Did you not see the Notre Dame faithful going at my jugular today?
Yeah, I don't know what well, it was you were talking crap about Logan Diggs.
I was trolling. I mean, come on.
Well, the problem is everyone doesn't realize that when you do that and we have that back and forth, it's you and I effing with each other. But the Notre Dame folks that some of them follow me are then coming into my defense because they, for some reason, don't like you. We know why they don't like you. But
I
don't think they
like me and like Brian Driscoll. You don't have to comment. I'm just saying.
It's a good question.
Petty Blake. Okay.
All right. Thoughts on the list, though.
All right. So listen, here's your list. Again, I don't have any issues with it. Here's my only thing. Okay. Now, Keon Coleman, okay, probably could be on this list, in my opinion, above Johnny Wilson. Okay.
Really?
Yes, dude. Keon Coleman's a dude. Like a dude. I do believe when it's all said and done that Keon Coleman will be their wide receiver 1 and not Johnny Wilson. Look, Johnny Wilson, do you remember the great comment by Booger McFarland on Monday Night Football when he said Kelvin Benjamin's a Popeye's biscuit away from being a tight end? Well, I do think that there is some argument that could be made that Johnny Wilson could play tight end in the league. He's already 6'7", 235 pounds, but since he's a receiver, I'll put him there. Here's the problem that I have with Johnny Wilson. Can he stay healthy? Right?
That's a fair point.
When he's on the field, look, I had a coach, and it was the first time I ever heard it, tell me in the fall of 2008, The best ability is availability.
Mhm.
And he's just not there enough, Joe, to be able to do some big things. So he was at Arizona State. They try to get him in some games early into that COVID year. I will even give him a wash on that, okay? But 2021, he only is able to play 4 games, has 12 receptions. Then last year, obviously goes to Florida State, has 43 catches, 897 yards. That's massive. That's almost 21 yards per catch. That's a big deal for a big guy. I can't do it. Not when you have Corley out there who had 101 catches last season. Not when Abuka and Malik and Rome all were real dogs all season long. Did you know that and look, there's not going to be any debate about Marvin Harrison Jr. or Malik Neighbors or Rome or Abuka. Those dudes caught critical passes on third down. Every game that I saw from Florida State, on third down, Johnny Wilson sometimes would disappear. Okay? And that'd be the problem that I had with him. Now, last year, he played in 13 games. He just got hurt a little too much for me. Look, you still played 13 of your 14 or 13 games. That's a big deal. My only problem is can he stay consistent? Can he stay healthy?
I think as this Florida State, there's some projection here. And as I've talked about, I like to include a level of projection with these lists. And I think that for Wilson, who was under 1,000 yards, under 50 receptions, he only had 5 touchdowns last year. He has every physical tool in my eyes to be a dominant possession receiver. I think that I understand your sentiment with bringing up the Booger McFarland comment about Kelvin Benjamin, but that was because he was a fat SOB and he had no control over his diet or how to keep himself in a healthy physical shape.
He's still a Popeye's biscuit away from being a tight end, Joe.
But he's still that was because Benjamin was fat. Johnny Wilson is in very good shape.
No, I don't disagree with that, but could you make the argument that at the next level that he's Darren Waller?
Yeah, that argument absolutely could be made. And I don't disagree with the thought that oftentimes these bigger guys don't really work out as receivers. And then when they convert to tight end, they tend to be a little bit more productive. Like
Darren Waller.
Darren Waller is a great example who was a receiver. He had a up and down beginning to his career for a different reason. But Hakeem Butler is another name that pops up in my head, an Arizona State kid who didn't really work out, that transferred positions. But look, in the game of college football, there's just not a lot of receivers that can play in one-on-one situations with a guy that's built like a power forward the way that he is. Drake London was incredibly productive and was one of the best receivers, if not the best receiver in his final year at USC. I see some similarities and I see some capabilities to be just as productive as Drake London for Johnny Wilson. And I think as Florida State gets better this year, as much as Keon Coleman is going to be an additional amazing threat, Johnny Wilson is still the number one guy.
Before we get off this Johnny Wilson thing, thoughts on Keon Coleman going to Florida State?
I want to dive into his film a little bit more before we talk about him on Saturday.
Okay, well, I can give it to you right now. Okay, he's there. If he can pick things up quickly, and I'm talking about quickly, he doesn't have a lot of time here. By far, he's their wide receiver one.
I think it's really important
to close. It's not close. No, it's not close. Keon Coleman. So here's what I tried to tell people when they were asking if he should come to like LSU or come back home to Louisiana. Think of the DBs he assaulted that went in the first round last year.
Yes.
Okay. And Joe, I'm not talking about like just beat him barely. It was a good throw by Thorne. I'm not talking. He assaulted Joey Porter Jr. And then who's the other kid? The other kid, King. Isn't that the other kid from Penn State? Kalen King. Dog, I'm talking about put my man up in a Smoothie King blender and just spun him around like a top on a bottle. Dog, I'm telling you, listen to your boy. Listen to your boy on this one. That kid has the potential to be wide receiver one. Listen to this, though, for them. I'm not saying he deserves to be on this top 5 list, but for them, If the chemistry can get built with Jordan Travis, nighty night, sweetheart. Man, Joe, they are the biggest sleeper team in the country. Nobody, where people are talking about them.
Mm-hmm.
Name a better defensive line than theirs right now.
In the ACC, there absolutely is not. Georgia has a better defensive line than them, though.
I don't agree with that.
Really? You think that Georgia's isn't better?
I think Jared Verse and Braden Fisk are the best 1-2 punch in the country, and they're going to play alongside. What do?
I just think that Georgia has more depth across the board, though.
Okay,
that's the difference.
I'm talking about starting defensive linemen right now.
As I think Fisk is good. I don't know if I'd put him in that same elite category as
They're going to have to double him. They're going to have to. So this is what I think is going to happen to Fisk. Mm-hmm. His stats are going to go down there where, oh, well, look, the G5 guy stats went down. No, because he's going to play in that one technique, and they're going to get after his ass.
And they're going to eat up blocks, which you need him to do. It frees up Verse.
And it's going to be dangerous. Joe, you ever been to the beach before?
No, I've never been. Yes, I've been to the beach before.
Okay, you remember when they put the red flag on the beach with a big skull on it that say "Do not enter"?
Yeah,
that's that defensive line for Florida State, in my opinion.
I can't wait to talk about them on Saturday because I think this is going to be a fun discussion. But to this point, though, on Keon Coleman, because it's kind of important to bring up with just this wide receiver conversation, and the timing of it's fantastic. For Coleman, he was playing in an offense that was generally pretty run-centric. So I think that like his placement now in an offense that is going to try to air it out more, which didn't really do that a lot last year, but is going to try to be more space. They've got all these damn weapons now. Jaheim Bell's also in the mix. I think that Coleman's production could really go up. And I think that his ascension into being in that top receiver conversation, it's certainly possible. Florida State can be Tennessee this year. They absolutely can be. And they can be better than Tennessee was last year.
I don't know if they'll be as explosive. I mean,
my point is that I think that they're going to be the team that everyone is going to be really juiced up about because they have a really good start to the season. That's where I'm getting at.
Well, listen, I'm not saying this because it's LSU. Don't take this the wrong way now. They got to go through that. Week one is a juggernaut for them. Their first like 5 weeks playing LSU and Clemson, dog, that ain't no, like, even if you beat LSU as an example, you got to go up against Clemson in a couple of weeks, man. Like, that's not easy. They don't have a tune-up game against to prep for LSU this year either. So they run the ball at an effective clip. Let's see what they can do. All right, I'll let you. I said nice things about your list. I guess go ahead and let me give you mine. Marvin Harrison Jr. Joe, I didn't even pull up the stats. I don't need to. Right? Like, I mean, he's the best wide receiver in college football. Malik Neighbors, Mike Ibuka from Florida State, Rome Dunze. We've already talked about you having him on your list at Washington, and Malachi Corley from Western Kentucky.
I want to address Malik Neighbors first. No, look, I think he belongs on this list, and I think not enough people talk about Malik Neighbors' production, but I think that like one of these things is not like the other. To place him at number 2 ahead of Odunze and Ibuka, like I could see him going at 4, and I actually toyed with that thought of putting him at number 4. But are we really going to go as far as to say that he's the second best receiver in the country ahead of all of those other guys that had fantastic seasons last year?
Yes, here's why. The stats with him aren't created equally.
Okay.
Do you remember what he did against Georgia?
I do.
Do you remember what he did against Bama?
I do remember what he did against Bama.
Do you remember what he did against Florida State?
Yes.
Do you remember what he did against Tennessee? Do you remember? Yes. I mean, so at some point, you could say, oh, well, Mr. Blake, here's the stats. He put Keely Ringo and Georgia in blenders.
Okay. I mean, that's a fair point to bring up his performances against those big teams.
The film don't lie. The film don't lie.
Yeah, but the film also doesn't lie with it's not like I'm sitting here saying like, oh, wow, this guy had 1,900 yards and Malik Neighbors only had 1,000. That's not what I'm doing here. stat total is close enough where it almost is irrelevant for this discussion. But what I think what all these other guys did is, I'm not saying it's better. I'm just saying that I'm not willing to put Neighbors ahead of Odunze and Ibuka.
There's something to be said about a kid from LSU, a wide receiver that emerges late. Joe,
So
it's
do you
wide
think he's
receiver.
do you think he's next Justin Jefferson? Is that what you're
I
getting
think
at?
well, here's the bet I'm hedging. I don't know if he will be Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. I can't put I can't put anybody up there. I don't even know if he'll be an Odell. Okay. I think he could be better than Jarvis Landry. And Jarvis was having seasons of 100+ catches in the NFL. I think that he's going to be a day one guy. I think he's a round one guy. I think right now he would fall in a round two because of the gun charge that he had. But this kid can play. This kid can play. You know why he was a 3-star?
Why?
Because he got suspended in his senior year of high school, and nobody. So he really, literally, could have been a 5-star coming in. So Malik could have been one of those guys that's a high 4-star, low 5-star, like number 32 overall. The reason he fell so much was because he didn't play his senior year and refused to go to 247's football camp. That's why people didn't really notice him. But then the last 2 seasons, he exploded. He exploded. So I'm just hedging a bet here. Okay.
So yours is projection is what this is.
Yeah, and I rip on your rear end a lot about that, but there are so I actually have done this twice. I did it at number 5 too. The Corley kid from Western Kentucky. Joe, that mother Hubbard had 101 catches.
My only problem with this is that, like,
bro,
Corley's good. Corley's good. He's good. And I don't like to, I am always a supporter of the G5. I've said this before on the show. But that offense inflates significantly.
Well, here's the argument that I would counter off of. What about Devonta Smith? What about you just talked about Justin Jefferson? You talked about Jamar Chase. At some point, 100 catches and no drops is 100 catches and no drops.
But those guys were playing in big conferences and put up those totals against good competition.
So if you're going to use that argument, if you're going to use the pro SEC argument, which that's what everybody calls it, the pro SEC argument.
Yeah.
Don't come up in here talking during the season when a TCU emerges.
Because, I'm absolutely going to do that. You know that I'm going to do that.
Okay, well, then I'm going to rip you alive.
Well, I'm always going to try to make the case for a non-SEC team. That's my brand.
I'm not talking about an SEC team. Last year, you sucked on the teat.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
TCU.
Yeah, I'm going to always try to make the case for a team that is not in the SEC that they're better than some of the SEC teams. I'm absolutely going to do that.
Don't look at projections.
Okay.
If I came to you right now and I said one guy had 40 catches for 800 yards, but he played a higher level of competition, but you had a guy that played a little bit lower competition, but it had 101 catches and 1,300 yards and 11 touchdowns. What would you say to that? Not knowing who these dudes are.
Well, I would say that the bigger stat total is more impressive, but I know that one guy is more physically dominant and if in the right situation could be more productive and could make bigger plays in bigger games. Corley's never going to be asked to make big plays in big games.
Physically dominant doesn't win me walking off the bus looking like Tarzan or Adonis.
Making a contested catch in the end zone or on third down is important.
He missed 7. I remember 7 that Johnny Wilson missed a year ago. I can name them off the top of my head. He missed 1 against Boston College. He missed 2 against LSU. He missed 3 against Clemson.
Part of my concern with Corley is that there is a teammate of his who significantly statistically outdid him 2 years ago in Jareth Stearns, who transferred from Houston Baptist. he put up some dumb number. I think it was like 1,700 or something like that. He led the country in receiving yards.
It was something ridiculous.
And he's not even on an NFL roster right now. That's my whole point, is that there are slightly above average college receivers that get boosted significantly. For him to only put up 1,300 yards in that offense, I would argue is an underperformance if you're the number one receiver. That's kind of what I'm getting at. He's a great college kid, but top five is a little aggressive.
Argument. I don't like that. Look, I've seen the kid play, and we're not talking about projection, right?
Yes,
like
this is all production.
And look, and I know what people are listening. They're like, "Well, Blake, you just did a projection on Malik Neighbors." I'm talking about projection in college football. I don't care what Malik Corley does in the NFL. I could care less. The kid can play. And look, as soon as I started looking at him a lot last night, and I started looking at a lot of him this morning. And when I heard some guy from Western Kentucky in game 13 or whatever it was saying that's his 100th catch and no drops on the season, I said, "Do what now?"
It's impressive. I think he belongs in the discussion.
That's more than impressive. That's
very
more than impressive. That is, if that is true, and that guy, if that statistic's true, Joe, you know what? You know what I thought about when I heard him say that? You ever seen the movie The Replacements?
Yes, I have.
Do you remember when the wide receiver, they put the stickum on his hand and he said, "Looks like I jacked off an elephant."
Holy hell.
Look, what the kid's hands is like 24/7.
But okay, here's one thing I'm willing to throw out there. I'm willing to bet that there are going to be 3 receivers that by the end of the season, we will be easily ranking them ahead of
Keon Coleman.
I think that Corley's also benefiting from a lot of guys leaving and going to the NFL. I think he's very significantly benefiting.
That's not his fault. That's not his fault.
I know it's not, but I think that there's going to be a lot more guys that step up and outplay him. Maybe not statistically, but are going to be more impressive on the field and make more important plays.
We'll see. All right, last one when we talk on this list. I'm going to get on you about one thing.
Okay.
Nothing. We both have Mbuka at 3. Why you have Mbuka at 3?
Because he's almost like the little brother of Marvin Harrison Jr. And I like, not in a bad way. He has been so productive and he plays so well off of Marvin Harrison Jr. His production can't go unnoticed, and this is a kid who's going to go in the first 2 rounds of the 2024 draft. Write that down right now. That is going to happen. He's good enough, but it's kind of like the Jackson Smith and Jigba debate that I have brought up in the past of, if he doesn't have everything around him, is he a guy who exceeds and excels when he is the only option? And I don't know if he really steps up and can do that. He's good enough to be in the top 5 statistically with what he shows us, his traits on film, all of that checks every box. But I don't know if I can sit here and say, this is a number 1 guy. This is somebody I'm willing to rank higher than that.
You know why I put him at 3?
Why?
What happened against Georgia?
So that was what I was trying to sit here and remember as I was bringing that up. He didn't really do much when Marvin Harrison Jr. went out, did he?
That's my point.
Right.
That's my point. If you want to show me, so the whole season, Mbuka was like, everybody talked about how Mbuka this, Mbuka that, Mbuka this, Mbuka that. And I'm like, okay, well, he's doing good. Like, he's a good wide receiver. But then Marvin Harrison Jr., we talked about this during the season last year, you and I. What's crazy is, like, they had the statistics for C.J. Stroud when Marvin Harrison was on the field and when he was off the field. But Mbuka was on the field. So why aren't you targeting that guy as often as you did Marvin Harrison? If you have 2 first-round wide receivers.
Right.
I just think that it's a big deal for me, man, when Marvin Harrison Jr. went out, okay, and he did not step up. You remember the tweets that went viral about people posting the red flag? It's a red flag for me. It was a red flag for me. But here's the opposite side of that coin, though, Joe. He's a really good freaking player. You know, like, I mean, he's still a really good player. And that's why I sat here and it's like, man, what am I talking about? Like when I watch him on film, the kid's really good, but then when Marvin Harrison went out and Marvin Harrison was getting doubled, not in your traditional double, like he a corner would be on him, but his safety's always shaved to his side anyway.
Mm-hmm.
You got man-on-man, one-on-one coverage. Why aren't you being that?
Right. That's kind of where I'm coming at here, where I can't ignore him. Like, you can't not put him in the conversation in the top 3 because he was so freaking productive last year and he was such an important part of the best passing attack in all of college football. But that's my whole point, is when he's asked to be the guy, I don't have any evidence that he can be a killer. He is productive because of his circumstance, the offense that he plays in, and the guys that he's playing alongside. We're not going to even get exposure to that to see what he's capable of unless Marvin Harrison Jr. goes down with an injury, or maybe he opts out and decides to sit out half the season for whatever reason.
He's not
right.
Out.
Right. He's not going to do that.
Out.
I wouldn't be shocked. I will say on this list, I wouldn't be shocked if somebody doesn't tumble and fall off the list. If it's not Ibuka for that reason.
Can I tell you something?
What?
You know what I thought about? This is so horrible for me. Man, if Marvin Harrison Jr. gets hurt again, could he?
I don't think so.
Concussions? Look, there's one injury that you can't come back from. When teams start saying you get concussions, man.
I don't disagree with that, but concussions aside, like, the guy's just so freaking talented that I think teams are not going to
get an argument from me.
Yeah.
You're not getting an argument from me. I'm just saying, Joe, he was listen now, that man was live and in living color, okay, on national television. Getting tattooed. Now, he wasn't he couldn't brace himself.
Mm-hmm.
Still, though, man, concussions will make you fall. But Marvin Harrison Jr. is by far the best receiver prospect since Jamar Chase. Like, he's going to go top 5.
I mean, not to push your buttons, but he might even be better than Jamar Chase, because we only got really one good season of Jamar Chase to know what he is, because he decided not to play a year. We're going to get another additional year.
You know what? You didn't have to say that.
It's not a negative comment. It's just that
you didn't have to say that. You didn't have to be that guy, and you went there.
It's not a negative comment.
Are you upset because Logan Diggs is coming home? Are you mad that Brian Kelly won the SU?
No. So you didn't have to go there. You didn't have to go there.
Are you mad?
You didn't have to go there because
Brian Kelly, 60 dudes from Louisiana to finally beat Alabama. How crazy is it that it takes a Louisiana-based LSU team to finally beat Alabama and y'all can't?
It wasn't a knock on Jamar Chase. It's not a knock on Jamar Chase. It's a positive on Marvin Harrison that he could be better. It's possible for him to be better. What he has done as a sophomore now
never brings you another present.
Oh my God! Look, the guy's going to finish the year as the best receiver in college football. It's not even going to be close.
I literally hope you stomp your toes when you get up later.
Why you got to do me like this, man? I can't.
Jamar Chase is an angel.
I'm not going to speak with a veil.
Have you ever heard of
the
angelic tones of Jamar Chase?
I have not heard him. Actually, I try to
grass orgasms when he runs routes on them.
I think you need to watch more Marvin Harrison Jr. and then maybe you'll understand where I'm coming from.
No. Look, I love Marvin Harrison Jr. I love me some more. Dude's a beast. All right. You want to go over to this SEC East, give our predictions?
Yeah, let's do it.
Go first.
Wait, so we didn't really talk ahead of time on how we wanted to go about this. Do you want me to share what my projected standings are?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I'm gonna give you my 1 through 7 and tell you why I have them there.
Okay. Here's my 1 through 7, the way that I've got them. Right, I think Georgia's going to finish at the top, and I think that they're going to win the division pretty easily. By the way, before I continue with this, I really don't think that there is going to be much of a difference from what it was last year. I think there's going to be some slight shifting. I think that Tennessee is going to be at number 2, but I don't think that Tennessee is going to be as close to the top as they were last year. I think it's going to be a 10-2,
Well,
8-4, somewhere in that
still,
range.
oh
Well,
no!
wait, let me rephrase. 10-2 at the most. If everything goes according to plan, 10-2. But more realistically, I think they're going to be an 8-4 football team this upcoming year.
Whoo! Hold on
Okay.
now. You think Tennessee's going 8-4?
I have so many questions about Joe Milton. I don't have a lot of faith in Joe Milton. And they lost 2 key receivers. Do we think Brew McCoy is going to replace the production of Jalen Hyatt and Cedric Tillman? I will say what I'm optimistic on. Well, I think that they're probably going to be like 9-4, 9-3, 8-4. That's the number I'm throwing out there for them. I really like Jalen Wright and Jabari Smalls. I really like their running back tandem.
Yeah, they got a good running game. They got a really good running game, and they return a lot of production on that offensive line. I mean, I know Darnell Wright went in the league, but
I just don't see a lot of improvement for them defensively. I don't really see.
Well, because they didn't lose anybody defensively,
but they had problems all year defensively. So like that's where I'm kind of coming at here. It's
secondary was ass,
and they lost their best pass rusher in the other Byron Young. So it's like I don't know where I'm supposed to hang on to think that this team is getting better when they lost a guy who was the Heisman favorite up until the point where he got hurt. Like Joe Milton's not Hendon Hooker. He could play well, but he's not going to play the level of Hendon Hooker. And they needed Hendon Hooker to make some pretty crazy plays to keep them in that discussion as far along as they did. So that's where I'm placing them.
Who you got at number 3?
I do need to note though that did you know that Tennessee added Caleb Williams in the transfer portal?
Yes, but not that Caleb Williams.
You didn't think that was as funny as I did.
Because I knew where you were going. I knew as soon as you said Caleb Williams, I'm like, look at this man.
After them, I think
they sales too.
It's worth asking. Worth asking. I have no idea what he looks like because the 24/7 Sports didn't even have a picture for him. After that, I think Kentucky is going to be number 3. I think that Kentucky is knocked too heavily for the way that they played last year. Them adding Devin Leary is significant, and they actually did very well in the transfer portal. I think it's going to be really close after that between South Carolina and Florida. But I'm going South Carolina going somewhere at 6-6, maybe less than that, and then Florida going 5-7 at best. At best, 6-6, maybe 7-5 if they pull out an upset. But I see that as very unlikely.
So I'm assuming you have Missouri and then Vandy.
Yeah, they both stink. Missouri added Jake Garcia, and I like Jake Garcia, but they both those rosters stink, and I don't think that Vanderbilt is very good.
Hold up. Wait a minute.
Okay.
I don't disagree with you. I think that your SEC is good, and we'll break down some of these teams for the last couple of minutes here. I agree with you 1 through 3. I have Georgia at 11-1. I think you're not going to win all those games, right? Like you're not going to look. Are they going to go on a 25, 30 game win streak? Like that would be damn near impossible. I think that they could slip up. It doesn't matter who. Yeah. Look, they slipped up one year and lost to Will Muschamp, South Carolina team, and then got to the playoff. So what? Right? Like, I mean, so what? I'm with you. I got Tennessee, though, at 10-2. I do trust – I just don't trust any of these other defenses to stop them. I don't think it matters. And here's another thing. If the Joe Milton experience doesn't work, here comes Nico Iamaleava.
I am Oliveira.
Mm-hmm. Here comes Nico. Now, if Nico starts playing and does well, then those question marks start going away. So they have resources and depth. All right, so I got Tucky at 8-4. I think they're third in the SEC East. I do like Leary. I think that they get back to who they really were, right? Like I think they try to do some very cute and spritzy things with Will Levis, and they didn't know how to use Will Levis effective enough. Like you're making Will Levis throw a screen pass against Emmanuel Forbes underneath center.
That's not going to work.
That's pretty stupid. And Emmanuel Forbes took it for a pick 6. Okay. I think Will Levis gets knocked for things like that when he really shouldn't. It's just horrible play calling. Here's my number 4. You want to hear my sleeper team?
You're going to say Vanderbilt. I swear if this is Vanderbilt. I don't hate that.
I have Missouri at number 4. Here's why I have Missouri at number 4. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
They are number 4 in the country in returning production. I watched 3 games of the all 22 copies against Georgia, Tennessee, and others over the last week. Okay? Because I had an SEC coach tell me, like, man, I'll tell you something. Missouri might be okay. They might be able, with Drinkowitz, to get to 8-4. Their defense is so sound under Blake Baker. They are so physically sound. Now, they don't have the dudes.
No.
Okay? Like, they do not have the dudes. But they play right. Like, they play fundamentally sound. And I will tell you, if you go look at them, throw the stats out for just a minute. If you actually go and break down the film, Blake Baker's got that defense playing, son. Like, you have Georgia, Tennessee, and others at times confused as hell.
There's 2 guys that they have on defense that are actually, some want to say this is a hot take. I don't think it should be. 2 guys that they have on their defense might be 2 of the best defensive players in the conference that they have. And I'm talking about Javon Foster and Tyrone Hopper. Tyrone Hopper. Both those guys, yeah, they were all conference guys last year. They're very good. They're very good football players. They're better than what any of these other teams that we're sitting here talking about have on the defensive side of the football. My question mark is offense, though. Like, they lost Lovett. Like, who is Garcia throwing the ball to if he wins that starting job?
Now, look, here's the thing, okay? And why I say they don't have the dudes. I'm old enough to remember at the end of the first quarter against Tennessee, it was 7-7. Right? Like, a half of that game, they were really, and I'm just talking about really, like, I mean, you go in the half. I mean, I know Tennessee's got 35 points, but they were hanging in there. Then they don't have enough depth. The wheels fall off. A couple players get hurt, whatever. And Tennessee would wind up scoring 66 points. I don't care about the score. When I look at them now with all the turning production, Joe, are they going to get worse? I don't think that they're worse. I think they can be in that 7-5, 8-4 range. I think 8-4 is the ceiling. But here's the question mark ultimately. I don't trust Florida. I don't trust South Carolina at the current moment.
No.
I don't trust them. Could Missouri, South Carolina, and Florida flip-flop at 4, 5, and 6? Yeah, whatever. But I'm going to tell you something, buddy. For me, I think Florida's at 6. I think they get to 5 wins. I don't think they're bowl eligible.
Here's my only thing is that I know that you're very anti-Florida on this program, and I understand why.
So let me just say this. I actually really like Florida. Okay? Like, I think if the right coach gets in Gainesville, clip this. If the right coach gets in Gainesville, Urban Meyer, things can be just fantastic. They could rule the world if they really wanted to.
Yes. Okay. They could be Georgia is what Georgia is right now.
Well, I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to call them, but they have the resources in place. They have a recruiting hotbed in place. If the right coach got in there, Urban, you saw what Urban did. I don't think Cristobal is really a worry. The only worry they have in that state is Florida State. Okay, man, they're not winning. I would be shocked, Joe. I would be shocked if they won 7 games.
See, the only thing is, I looked at their schedule. They actually have a surprisingly easy schedule compared to some of these other teams, easier than Tennessee, who has a very difficult schedule. They got to go to Utah. They got to go to LSU. Yes, I mean, those are difficult games, but I think that there's possibilities for them to pull out wins over some of those mid-level SEC opponents that they have. I like ETN, but here's as the running back who's very productive. But here's the other thing that's really kind of surprising. They didn't really lose that much. And they actually had a pretty good transfer portal haul. They pulled a lot of highly rated kids.
Yeah, they lost a lot.
Kids
good. They had 35 guys in the portal.
But a lot of those guys were like backups. None of them were like important players on their roster like that. You're going to sometimes have a turnover.
Do you think they beat Utah?
No, I don't think they beat Utah.
You better pray to God they don't. You better pray to God.
I don't think that they beat Utah.
You better pray to sweet Jesus above, because I'm going to come on this show and rip you up. They're 0-1. McNeese win 1-1. Tennessee lost, so they're 1-2. Charlotte, they're 2-2. Kentucky at Kentucky.
That one's no. I think Kentucky wins that one, so it's 2-3.
2-3. Vanderbilt
win 3-3. I don't think that Vanderbilt didn't lose anyone. They didn't really gain anyone. They lost their starting quarterback and then graduated. Their best running back graduated. Like
they beat Florida last year.
Yeah, but Florida was in such a mess of a situation.
They had the number 4 overall pick.
Look, I have a take here, and that you're not going to like this. I think a lot of times that when there's these supremely talented athletic kids, some coaches don't know how to coach that. And I think that Anthony Richardson was a detriment to the roster for Billy Napier. I don't think he knew how to use him.
What?
That's not a bad take. He didn't know how to use him. You just said that about Will Levis with Kentucky. They didn't know how to use him.
And you think Graham Mertz is going to be better?
I don't know if Graham Mertz could be better.
All right, then shut up.
I think that they beat Vanderbilt.
All right, so they're 3-3. I'll give that to you.
Okay.
At South Carolina.
I think that that's a winnable game. Say that they win that game.
No, you're going to have to split one of these. Look, listen to all the away games that they have. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
All of them are tough. At Utah, at Kentucky, at South Carolina. Oh, by the way, that's in October. It's going to be a night game in Columbia.
Okay.
Goofy ass shit pops off in Columbia on a Saturday night. They ain't winning that game, buddy. They ain't winning that game. I'm telling you right now, they're not beating South Carolina and Columbia. Georgia.
I'll concede that one.
Okay, so they're 3-4. They beating Georgia?
No, they're not beating Georgia.
Are they beating Arkansas?
Probably not beating Arkansas.
3-6. Are they beating LSU?
We're not beating LSU.
3-7. Are they beating Missouri? In Como? At this point,
I think that they could beat Missouri. I don't think that's unrealistic.
At this point, if they're 3-7, you're basing, which would make Missouri at this exact moment 7-4. Arguably.
Yeah. But here's my whole point that I was saying with Florida is that a lot of those mid-tier SEC games, there's more of a capability, but there's more of a capability for them to steal one or two of those than I think you're giving them credit for.
You just called it out. You said that they're not pulling out any of those games. You literally just said I gave
yes.
You know what? They're 4-7. I'll give you Missouri. Okay. They beat Florida State.
Probably not beating Florida State.
They're 5-7, buddy.
Okay. Well, I guess I was wrong there. But look, my whole point is that, and I said where I placed them. My whole argument against you was saying that they could be better than that 5-7 mark if they win some of those mid-tier games. They're not going to beat those big opponents that they play. They're not going to. They're not going to beat Georgia. They're not going to beat Tennessee. They're not going to beat Florida State, obviously.
So that's 3 losses off the top.
Yes, but you named a bunch of mid-tier SEC opponents that they could.
Okay, mid-tier.
Shock.
Okay, you said Blake. They're Mr. Blake. They're not beating Florida State. They're not beating Tennessee. They're not beating Georgia. They're on the road at LSU.
Okay, I forgot about LSU. They're not going to beat LSU.
Okay,
obviously.
so that's 4 permanent losses.
Okay.
So you mean to tell me that they can't lose to Arkansas, South Carolina, Kentucky?
out of those games, they can pull 2 of them with
No,
their.
they can't. No,
I
they
think that
can't.
they realistically could. It's certainly possible for them to pull 2 of them.
They ain't
I
gonna
don't
do
think
it.
this. I don't think this roster is as bad as everyone thinks it is. All right, let's get through the rest of yours because we're.
You know what? A lot of people thought that Notre Dame's roster was better than Marshall's.
Okay. All right. I see how we're ending the show then. I see how it is. The worst.
There's one piece of ammunition that's out there that you can rebuttal with me on that, but either you don't know it or you just don't want to.
Well, I've used the Texas A&M bit, so it's not that. It's going over my head.
LSU lost to Troy under Ed Orgeron year 1.
Yeah, but you're not under Ed Orgeron under year 1, and Brian Kelly didn't do that. So that was too long ago. I'm not
You're
gonna.
right,
I don't pull receipts from like 4 years ago. I don't do that.
Oh, I am a receipt puller. Call me the IRS because I want the receipts.
What about the rest of your teams before we wrap here?
I had Vanderbilt at 7.
Okay. I'm glad that we don't disagree about Vanderbilt.
But I will say this: I put $20 on the over of 3.5.
They have a really easy schedule.
You remember this? I told you very quickly. I told you at the beginning of the season. Remember before ball was ever kicked off, before Vandy played Hawaii, I put $100 on Bet Online that they went over the 3.5.
That was a smart bet.
It's going to be.
They have a really easy schedule.
Look, I'm going to say, all right, listen to me. Listen to me. This makes no sense. I like Clark Lee. They can win 6 games. They can go bowling.
I'm a Clark Lee fan.
And I'm going to tell you something now. Florida.
They're not going to beat Florida.
Joe, they already have.
In Billy Napier's first year.
And Clark Lee's what?
Second year.
At what program?
At Vanderbilt. That was his second year. You can win games at Vanderbilt with a good coach. We've seen it. James Franklin did it. It's not impossible to win at Vanderbilt.
To
win 4 games at Vanderbilt.
What do you mean it's not difficult to win at Vanderbilt?
Sorry. No, wait. It's not impossible to win 4 games, 5 games at Vanderbilt. That's not on a hard accomplishment.
They slapped Anthony Richardson's cheeks.
That was in Billy Napier's first year. Give him some time. I'm willing to give him a little bit of time, as much as we've spoken negatively on him on this program.
See y'all Saturday. Peace.
Saturday.